Oi, fala aí pessoal, bom dia. Você está escutando o Inglês no rádio. I am your host, Foster Hodge. This is your daily dose of English. Hello. Hey guys, what's up? It's Foster from Inglês no. So today I want to do something a little bit different than the normal routine. Today is a solo episode. So Alexia has returned to Rio de Janeiro. She has returned to the marvelous city. So I'm here by myself in the US, and I thought I would share a quick lesson with you, a quick tip. So here's the thing. Most of my students, like 95% of my students, always ask me the same question. And that question is, what is my level? Like, will you consider my English? What do you think my English is? Is it beginner, intermediate, upper intermediate, advanced? And the thing is, this question doesn't really make sense to me because you have so many different ways that you can measure your English, okay? So if you're thinking about reading, most of my Brazilian students are definitely in the intermediate level. Most of my students can read and write pretty well. But for me, the primary objective is always speaking and listening and connecting to native speakers. So instead of saying, is my English a B2 or is my English a higher intermediate or something like that, I like to think of someone's English in three simple categories. So these are my 3 steps of English conversation. Here we go. Step 1, simple conversation. So in this step, you are just having basic conversations, basic vocabulary with a decent pronunciation. So this means that you can say what your name is, who you are, what you're doing in the place that you're doing it. For example, let's say you're traveling in New York. You can order in a restaurant and say, hey, I would like a cheeseburger. And the waiter says, okay, would you like French fries? And you can say yes. You know, the basic things. And in this stage, the most important thing is questions. You have to be good at asking questions because most of the time you're not going to understand what is happening, what is going on. So you're going to want to have a lot of questions like, hey, can you repeat that? Sorry, I don't understand you. I'm from Brazil. I don't know what you're talking about. Just simple things to kind of let people know what level you're at so they can adjust accordingly. And the second step of conversation is what I call scripted conversation. So most of the time, you can prepare conversations in advance. For example, when I was in Brazil, vou falar isso em português. Quando eu estava no Brasil, todo mundo me fazia as mesmas perguntas, sempre. Tipo, de onde você é, o que você está fazendo no Brasil, não é mais legal nos Estados Unidos. And I knew these questions were going to come in a conversation, so I prepared and memorized my responses. So you can do this in all types of situations. For example, if you need English for your job, for an interview, you can think about the potential questions that people are going to ask you, and you can prepare your answers, right? So I call this preparing your scripts, right? Roteiros. Você está decorando seu roteiro. E você pode fazer isso em várias situações. Isso ajuda muito, mas tem limite também. So, after you are speaking with your scripts, you are trying a lot of different topics and different situations and circumstances. it gets really boring because you're repeating yourself a lot and you're having better conversations. You can kind of get into deeper situations with native speakers, but you're still not quite really connecting with native speakers in a deep and profound way. So that is the last step of conversation, which I call spontaneous conversation. So in spontaneous conversation, I think most people would consider this fluency or being an advanced speaker. This means pretty much you can talk about almost everything. Obviously, not everything. I have a very liberal view of fluency. So, if you ask me about, uh, I don't know, ancient or like colonial literature from Brazil in the 1700s, I really don't know how to talk about that. I don't have that vocabulary. I don't have that knowledge. But I can talk about most things in Portuguese, and I don't really have to follow my script. I can improvise. I can have different perspectives on things, and I can really express my opinion. So I don't want to get too complicated. I want it to be a short episode today, but I recommend that you start thinking about your English in a more simple way like this and really try to think about where you are, if you are still in the simple conversation stage, or if you're moving to the scripted conversation stage, sorry, or if you're really, really getting to the spontaneous and you're trying to improvise and become an advanced speaker, because this really determines the way you should study, what you should be studying. Yeah, so I think it's more simple and I think it's more effective, and I hope that helps. And if you guys like the solo episodes, let me know because I can do more of them. And yeah, that's it. I will see you guys soon. Até já já.